I'm excited to be here tonight. Like Joe said, my name is Hope, and I'm with Carry the Love. And that video kind of explained it, but I'm going to explain a little bit more of who we are. Can I just see a raise of hands? Who has ever heard of Carry the Love before, or circuit riders? Okay, we have some people who are familiar. Cool. Who has ever been to a Carry the Love? Okay, cool. And then who here is no idea who we are? Okay, a mixed room. Perfect. Okay, for those people who have no idea who we are, I'm about to tell you. Really simply, Carry the Love is a campaign out of our organization called Circuit Riders. And we are an organization based out of Huntington Beach, California. We're just a group of young missionaries who believe that Jesus is the solution for our generation. Right, and so every spring we put on a campaign called Carry the Love, and we go to college and high school campuses with this campaign to inspire our generation to love like Jesus. And so for some of you who have been to our events before, you know we do 2-day events, right? We get invited to college campuses and high schools by amazing students who are believing that God wants to move on their campus, that is believing that the storyline of our generation is actually incorrect, right? The narrative that our generation and our friends that don't want Jesus is actually not true, and that there's many people who are hungry and desperate but don't know it. And so we gather all around America, and right now we're actually on this tour. My team, we've been going to college campuses and high schools all over California. It's been so fun. We are on our 8th week out of an 8-week tour. So this is our very last week of our tour. And it's not just been our team, but 22 other teams all over the States, all over Europe, and we've even had teams in Africa. And everywhere we go, no matter what college campus it is, no matter what city, we are seeing God move. We are seeing people encounter Jesus, the best thing ever. And our team alone has seen 204 salvations just from the 8 weeks that we have been on tour. Crazy, right? We have been to campuses in Southern California, and now we're making our way up here to Northern California. And in total, out of all these teams, I might be butchering it a little bit, but I think we've gathered around 17,000 people in just 7 weeks, and have seen, I think, around 1,400, somewhere around that, of people give their lives to Jesus. It's amazing, okay? And Carry the Love was started out of seeing the need of our generation. We saw how Jesus had been misrepresented, and we sought out to re-represent him, right? Isn't it so true that so many in our generation have been represented, or Jesus has been represented to them in a way that it's actually not true. And so we saw this need and realized that the only solution to our generation's pain and brokenness is the gospel. It's the love of Jesus. And on the average college campus today in America, there's somewhere between 1% to 5% of students on a campus that are involved in a Christian group or organization. Okay, that leaves 95 to 99% of a campus desperately needing to encounter the love of Jesus, right? That means that 95 to 99% of students on an average public campus that doesn't actually either know God or doesn't want to be involved with community that loves God. And in that statistics, in that 95 to 99%, there are 40% of students that have said they felt so depressed it was difficult for them to function. This is today on your average college campus. 61% said that they had felt overwhelming anxiety. 1 in 5 students reported being so stressed that they considered suicide. See, the reason why we sought out to go on to college campuses and to high schools and why so many of us young people decided to put our lives on pause is because we saw a generation that was in desperate need for an encounter with Jesus. They're in desperate need to be told that there is hope and freedom from their brokenness, that there can be freedom from depression and anxiety, and from their self-hatred and their suicidal thoughts. See, when I first heard these statistics, I was a freshman in college. I went to San Francisco State, not too far away from here, and I was just doing my thing. I was in school, and I was just wanting to get good grades. I wanted to get my degree and then go on to my career. And it was in my freshman year that I had heard that most of my campus at San Francisco State was not saved. And when I began to realize what that meant, that I heard these statistics, it began to break my heart and open my eyes to a need that was much greater than just me getting my degree. I began to realize that there was actually a greater purpose for me being on my college campus than just me graduating. And so when I realized that I could no longer look away at the need, when I began to realize that those statistics were not just numbers, but they were people, they were faces of my classmates and my friends, I had to do something. And so this led me to host a Carry the Love. Okay, this is how I got involved. And I had just kind of recently heard about this group of people that would go on to college campuses. And so I was like, maybe this will work. Like, I'll see. I'll try to host it. And so my sophomore year of college, I brought them onto my campus, and I became the crazy person that would not shut up about it. And I made sure that everyone knew, okay? I printed flyers, and I was flyering everywhere. I put it on, like, every bathroom stall, okay? Like, it took me like an hour. I like waited in the bathroom until everyone was out of the stalls and like put one up. I was determined to let everyone know about it because I became consumed with a need and I wanted to meet it. And so anyone that would listen, I told them, okay? And so the event came, the day finally came, and we ended up gathering 70 people in a small room, and 30 of those 70 people that night gave their lives to Jesus. They responded to the gospel, right? We worshiped, we gave a message similar to the night that we're gonna have tomorrow, and we gave a gospel call, and 30 of those people, my friends, were in that room who I've been praying for, gave their lives to Jesus that night, and I was shocked. I was like, I was hoping for this, but I was not expecting it. And it began to make me realize that what I saw happen on my campus, I wasn't satisfied with just my campus. I began to have a burden for my generation. And what happened on my campus, I began to have a desire to see everywhere. Because I realized that just the amount of people on my campus, that there are so many others in my generation and on other college campuses that also needed this. And so for me, I began to realize a purpose far greater than what I was going for school. And I decided to, my junior year, take a break, or what I thought was gonna be a break, from school, and I joined Carry the Love. They had this leadership training school where you would go down to Huntington Beach for 3 months and get trained up and learn how to preach the gospel and all these amazing classes and go deeper with Jesus, and then get sent off for 3 months going and telling people about God and going and doing these Carry the Loves like I had hosted. And it changed my life when I began to see that other places, not just my school, were hungry for Jesus. And now I've been with Carry the Love for 4 years, so obviously my break was not just a break. And I have never once regretted my decision, and it's been the best thing that I've ever done with my life. See, through my time in Circuit Riders, I have seen Jesus transform so many lives. On Carry the Love tours every year, we hear the craziest testimonies of people encountering Jesus. And things that I only heard in the Bible, I began to see in real life. And so I want to share some of those testimonies with you guys tonight. Is that okay? Are you ready? Can I share some stories? Does anyone like stories? Okay, amazing. I'm going to share some. So I was thinking it through, and so these are a couple that I thought about to share with you guys. And so in 2020, we did a Carry the Love tour through Northern California, and we were in Fresno. And we were kind of in a night like this, and we were just doing worship and sharing testimonies. And as we were sharing testimonies, I gave a call to anyone that was just in need of physical healing or just like prayer for anxiety. And so some people were raising their hands, and one of my friends starts praying for this girl who raised her hand. She raised her hand for prayer for something for her vocal cords. She was a singer, but she had been experiencing like pain in her vocal cords, and it was making it difficult for her to sing. So she starts getting prayer, and as my friend starts praying for her, she's like, starts kind of asking her, like, I just feel like maybe like there is something kind of that's been in your past that you have been ashamed of, and it's like caused some like maybe doubt and self-hatred. And the girl begins to weep. She's like, yes, like I've been so ashamed. Like I've actually struggled in the past with deep depression, and I have like struggled with self-hatred for so long, and it actually led me to self-harm. And I actually have scars still from that self-harm. So they begin to pray for her. They pray just for freedom from that self-hatred, freedom from that. And she ends up literally, her vocal cords gets full healing. The pain in her vocal cords that she was experiencing goes away, right? Okay, that in itself is incredible, right? Healing. But then she goes into the bathroom and she checks to see, and where she had 30 self-harm scars on her stomach from that period of her life that brought her so much shame. And she felt the urges to check. They didn't even pray for her scars. And she looks at her stomach, and not a single scar was left. Okay, she comes back crying, freaking out, telling us, and the room exploded in crazy joy, right? Because that's a literal miracle. Until that day, I was like, I did not know that was possible. Like, what the heck? And to this day, she still does not have a scar, a literal miracle. And that same night, a guy got healed from scoliosis. He had been in so much pain. His back was all messed up, and it was difficult for him to stand for very long. And we made a call for healing, and his scoliosis, literally his spine, it had been totally messed up, and it completely straightened out as we prayed for him. Crazy, right? Another story actually happened here in not too far from Rockland in Sacramento. Last year, we had an event planned in Sacramento, but it fell through the last minute. So me and my friend Nick up here in the front, who's with me, and some of our other friends, we decided, you know what, let's just go to the Capitol, and we're just going to worship. Like, I don't know, like we'll just start singing and hope something happens. So we were worshiping and praying, and as we began to worship, people were who were walking by began to stop and ask us what we were doing, and some joined us, and my friend Nick was standing on the sidewalk, and this guy starts skateboarding and hits my friend Nick, and they collide. But what it was actually a divine appointment for this guy. His name was Travis, and he got into a conversation with my friend Nick, and Nick begins to tell him the gospel. He asked kind of what we're doing, and he has to tell him the gospel, and he's like, no way. Like, this is crazy. Like, my girlfriend's a Christian. She's been telling me the gospel. Like, I know that there's been, like, I think he just had gone out of prison just earlier, like a couple weeks before, and he was in not a great place in his life, and he had heard the gospel, but he had never actually given his life to Jesus. And in that moment, he was like, I've been asking God if you're real. And in this moment, he began to realize that the gospel was what he needed, and gave his life to Jesus in that very moment. But what's even crazier, it didn't stop there. He was like, I need to get baptized. Like, I've heard of this thing called baptism. Like, I need to get baptized. And so we were at the Capitol, and if anyone has been over there, you guys know that the river is like not too far away from there. And so he calls his girlfriend. He's like, I just gave my life to Jesus. Like, and I'm going to get baptized. Like, come meet us. So we take him in that very moment. We walk all the way down, like, I don't know how many blocks that was, down to the river, and we baptized him that night. And we've still been in contact with him since, and he is now married to his girlfriend, and they just had a baby, and he is walking with the Lord still to this day. All because we just decided that we weren't going to let a canceled event get in our way, and we were still going to worship. And because we made ourselves available to tell the gospel. Crazy. Another one of my favorite stories is actually my friends in Oklahoma. They were having an event, and this atheist stumbled in. He decided he was going to come to the event because he hated Christians. And he wanted to go so that he could just mock us, basically, and just prove us wrong. But something happened in that night. He walks in and begins to experience the worship and hear the real gospel preached. And he actually, they were starting to pray for healing, and he had some type of injury. I don't remember the specifics, and no one prayed for him. But in that moment, all of his pain left as they were praying for other people. And in that moment, he was like, God is real. And so he tells someone, I don't know what's happening, but I don't have pain anymore. And they end up telling him the gospel, and he received it that night. And in fact, actually, he's one of my good friends to this day who came and joined Circuit Riders and became a missionary after that day. Just crazy things that we've seen. And another story is a couple years ago in Reno, we were having an event, and there we were doing our women's event. And a girl came in, and we were what we did not realize is this girl, she had come to our event, and she had intentions of committing suicide later that night. And her sister was actually at our event and had invited her. And so this girl came to our event because she was planning on telling her sister goodbye for the last time. And so she comes and she sits through it, and it's all about how we're just talking about how God has made women for a reason and a voice, and we have a purpose. And she begins to cry. We split up into small groups, and I'm in her group, and we're talking, and she's like, I did not know that I had a purpose. Begins to cry and begins to share. She's like, I came here because I was going to tell my sister goodbye. I had plans to drive off a cliff later today, because I have felt so hopeless, I have felt purposeless, and I don't see a reason to live anymore. But something happened here. When I heard you guys speak about the purpose that God has planned for us, I'm beginning to believe that maybe it's true. And so we began to pray for her and lead her through prayer. And by the end of our prayer time, she was declaring, I will live. I want to live. And to this day, she is following Jesus and has found so much freedom. A couple of days afterwards, she said to me in a text message that she now wakes up every morning saying, I want to live. A total transformation, right? And I could go on and on of so many stories of God encountering people. There's so many testimonies of not even just our nights, but as we've gone out onto campuses and we will evangelize, we'll go and share the gospel. And we've even just this tour seen so many people just through that one-on-one evangelism hear the gospel for the first time and receive it in that moment. Okay, the narrative about our generation that they don't want anything to do with Jesus is not true. Because on some of the hardest campuses, we have seen people hear the gospel and receive it. They've been hungry for it. And in a moment, they've experienced the love of Jesus, and it transforms everything. And I know that you guys have been talking a lot about salt and light this semester, that's been kind of the emphasis. And so I want to read Matthew 5:13-16. And it says, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. See, salt and light looks like us making ourselves available to be the hands and feet of Jesus, stepping out of our comfort zones and taking action in our everyday lives, being living testimonies for Jesus. See, there is a call to reach people around us in love the way that Jesus did, in the same love that he showed us. And it's not just for missionaries, it's not just for pastors, it's not just people who are going to be full-time ministers, but it's for every single person. It's for you, no matter what you're majoring in, no matter what career path you want to take, no matter what you are going to do with your life, every person is called to this reality of loving. See, no matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert, no matter your personality type. See, the testimonies I've shared tonight did not happen because there's something special about me or because there's something special about my friends or because we're missionaries. But it's because we said yes to the call, because we made ourselves available, because we decided that our comfort zone was not worth the freedom that we knew that people could receive if we were just to have one moment of uncomfortability, right? I believe that call is available to all of us today. That what they call the call to be salt and light, the call to love, is for now and not for later. We are here as witnesses, even you, on a college campus that is a Christian private school. How many of our friends don't know Jesus still? How many of our family members don't? How many of the people that we go to the grocery store, at the coffee shops that we frequent, our generation needs Jesus. Our generation is desperate, right? Suicide is at an all-time high. Anxiety and depression is now a common struggle. And there are statistics out there that are deeply grieving. 13% of students before they leave college will experience sexual assault. If that does not tell you that there is brokenness in our generation, I don't know what will. And the reality is that the gospel is the solution. The gospel is the thing that will set people free from their bondage. The gospel is the thing that will give hope to the hopeless. And God chose for us to be his partners in telling people the gospel. See, what it means to be salt and light is to live in a different way that causes the environments that we are in to change. And the salt and light is not just for a few, but it is for all of us that declare that we know Jesus. That is crazy that God chose us to be his partners. And I'm going to begin to wrap up, but I think that there's a couple of things that can get in the way of us living in this kind of way. We either think that it's just for the few. We can sometimes let fear get in the way. I know for me, I used to be so afraid of telling people the gospel, feeling that I wasn't adequate enough. But sometimes even what can get in the way is apathy. When we close our hearts off to the need, when we choose to look away because we're busy with our own lives, busy with what we are doing. And I even know that sometimes maybe there's even people here in this room that are like, yeah, I know the gospel. I go to this school. I am a Christian, but I don't know if I've actually ever really seen what you're saying. And I don't even know if I've experienced that kind of freedom. And I know for me, for most of my life, I was a Christian. I grew up in church. I was leading out. But I did not actually experience the love of Jesus in a way that transformed my life. I hadn't actually given him everything. Because there's a difference between believing and actually having faith in God and throwing your life into his hands, giving him everything and being his disciple. See, it says in the Bible that even the demons know his name and believe, right? There is a difference between believing and giving Jesus everything. And for me in my life, that I believed in God, I knew what the gospel, but I hadn't actually given everything over, and it led to me being depressed and suicidal, hating myself, trying to find validation and worth in other things. And in a moment, I met Jesus in a place where I actually myself was deciding to commit suicide. I thought it all through. I was in my bathroom, and I was in this moment of about to take my life, and in that moment, Jesus came and spoke to me, and it wasn't audible, but it was a knowing in my spirit that I had a purpose, that God had created me for something more, and in that moment, my life began to change. It transformed the way I thought because I met real love. And so I know for many of us, we've probably experienced that, and I'm going to invite the band or just the piano player, and we're going to go into a time of prayer. But I just have to, because the gospel has changed my life. And so even if it's just for one person tonight, even if it's just one of you, I have to make this invitation. If you're sitting here and thinking, who is this crazy girl? Like, what is she saying? Like, yeah, sure, cool. I'm just going to leave and whatever. I'm just getting my chapel credit today. But I actually believe that there is a invitation, and that there is not a coincidence that you're here today if you have not fully given everything to Jesus. And if you are beginning to realize that you actually are in those statistics, that you were like me, who was following Jesus, believing in Jesus, but if not actually giving everything. Because the reality is your purpose, what you're looking for, it's greater than just a career or a degree that you will get. The purpose and why you are here and put on earth is to be a messenger of the gospel and to reconcile others to him. And so I just want everyone to close their eyes right now. I'm going to make a couple of calls, but this first call is that if you know that you are not fully right with God, that you believe in him, but you've not given your full yes, your full life, and you know that the way that you are going is only going to lead to death and to more pain. And in this moment tonight, you want to have a moment where you give Jesus everything. I'm just going to invite you to raise your hand. I'm going to just count to 3, and if that is you, even if it's just one person, this is going to be the biggest decision that you ever make, and you're never going to regret it. So if that's you and you want to give everything to Jesus, I'm going to just have you raise your hand. 3, 2, 1. Raise your hand if that's you. If you want to give everything, if you're done trying to do things on your own, if you want real freedom and you want to give everything to him, I see your guys' hands. Come on, if there's anyone else, it's not just you, others, many others are raising their hands right now. If you know you need to get right with God, don't leave here without giving everything to him because it's so worth it. Okay, I'm going to invite the prayer team to come up to the front. You guys can still keep your eyes closed for just a moment. And if that was you, and you just raised your hand to fully give your life to Jesus, I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit bold, and we can all open our eyes now. And if that was you that raised your hand, I'm going to invite you to come down and to stand, right? Because the call to follow Jesus is a public one. There's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, we're going to celebrate wildly because it is the greatest thing ever. And it says that there is a party going on in heaven right now. So if that was you and you raised your hand to fully give your life to Jesus, I'm going to invite you to come up to the front and get prayer from the prayer team. So if that was you, you can stand up. I just want to ask you to make a bold stand for God tonight. And then we can actually all stand right now. Come on, yes. Come on, yeah, if that was you guys, come up to the front. Yeah, if that was you, you can keep making your way up to the front. But we're gonna end soon. I know my time is almost up. But I just feel like after sharing testimonies tonight, that it says that the word testimony is do it again. That's what the translation is when we share testimony, we're asking God to do it again. And so I know that many of us, we were just on spring break and went back home to, I don't know, maybe awesome situations or maybe not so great situations. But what I know is that in the presence of God, there's fullness of freedom and life and joy. And so I don't know what you might have walked in this room with tonight. It might have been heaviness, might have been anxiety or depression, or maybe even you need physical healing in your body tonight. Whatever that might be, I just believe that God is going to do it again. And so if you need any type of prayer for anything that I mentioned, any of the testimonies I shared maybe resonated with you because it's something that's going on in your life, I want to invite you guys. The prayer team is going to be up here for prayer. So if that is you and you need prayer for any of these things, would you just raise your hand? If you just want prayer for any anxiety you've been feeling, any heaviness and depression, maybe you need physical healing in your body, just raise your hand and someone from the prayer team is going to welcome you. You can come up to the front and you can get prayer. We're going to stay a little bit to pray for you guys. I'll be here to pray as well. And some of our Carry the Love team as well as the prayer team is here to pray for you. And that is wrap, guys, I'm going to just pray for us, and I want to invite you guys to come out tomorrow. This is just a little bit of what we do, and we're going to kind of have our full Carry the Love night tomorrow at 9:30 in the Student Union. And then if you guys want to learn how to be this kind of love that I was talking about, how to meet this need and to tell people about Jesus, we're going to actually have evangelism training at 2 p.m. We're going to go in depth about how to preach the gospel. And then we'll have, if you're a lady in the room, we're going to have a powerful time of coming together as women at 6 p.m. In the prayer chapel. But I'm just going to pray for all of us right now. Jesus, I thank you so much for who you are. God, I thank you for everyone in this room that you've called us to be evangelists, to be witnesses, to be messengers of the gospel. And that you have chosen us to be partners with you in reaching others. So I just pray right now, God, that as we leave, you would fill us up with boldness. You would fill us up with faith, and you would stir our hearts to believe your word, that many want to know you. And would you use us this week to be people who love and to meet others and to see salvation. In the name of Jesus, amen.